County Board of Education is called to order, and we are truly delighted that you are here with us this evening. We've got a good turnout from this group. This is our fourth group today, so it's been a long day, but it's been a productive day, and we've gotten some good feedback, and that's what we're seeking. We are seeking your comments. We value your comments, as we have with all the others that we've spoke with today. This is going to be treated as a public comment section that we, as the board, are here to listen, and there's not to be an engaging during the course of this. You tell us what you think. Now, we've got 2 people signed up, but I know that a lot more of you are going to have something to say, and we truly do encourage that. We ask that when you come up, for the benefit of the School Boards Association, to mention your name and what school you're at. But again, we are very pleased that you are here. We met with the business community at noon. We met with faculty and staff at 4 o'clock, parent leaders, community college at 5 o'clock. And so we're into our last session now. We're glad that you are here. Board Policy 2310 is on the screen. We're not going to go over that, but let me mention 2 things. One of them is that we have a 3-minute comment period. We're not going to be tied to that, I don't think, with this particular group. So, unless 15 or 20 of you want to speak, then we may need to narrow it down a little bit. But anyway, I know, Andy, you're on the list, and we're not going to cut you off at 3 minutes by any means. Anyway, we're happy that you're here. The other thing is, it is not appropriate to speak about or recommend specific individuals at this public forum. North Carolina personnel law protects the confidentiality of information about individual employees and potential applicants. If you want to make comments about individuals, you may complete a superintendent search survey and mention those individuals in the comments on the survey. As you are well aware, we do have a survey online. It can be accessed and completed at caldwellschools.com. And certainly we encourage, if you haven't done that, to do so. Anybody else that you possibly can, encourage them to do that as well. Any paper copies that somebody might print off, they can fill those out and drop them off here at the Education Center. We welcome all of that. A deadline for survey responses is Monday, February the 5th. The survey results will be compiled, summarized, and presented to the board and to the public at the regular school board meeting on Monday, February the 12th. So won't be very long. We'll have school board people back up here to present those to us. Any group or organization that wants to submit a statement can do so by submitting any of that to Allison Schaefer by mail, NCSBA, P.O. Box 97877, Raleigh 27624, by email, Allison Schaefer, which is ASCHAFER at ncsba.org, or by fax at 919-841-4020. There again, those must be received by February the 5th. All of you know that this is a very important decision for our school system and for the board. We understand the importance of what we're doing and hiring the next superintendent. That's why we've been here today and getting input from all these various groups. We have retained the School Boards Association to assist us with the administration of the superintendent search. The School Boards Association is the most experienced provider of superintendent search services in the state of North Carolina, having helped North Carolina school districts with over 150 superintendent searches over the last 20 years. Here to explain the search process, and Allison, if you want to come forward. Allison Schaefer is the legal counsel, director of policy for the North Carolina School Boards Association.
Thank you. Good evening. Nice to see all of you here. My name is Allison Schaefer. I'm the legal counsel, director of policy, as the chairman has said. We have a service that we provide to school boards all across the state to help them with superintendent search services. With me are Nancy Black and Sam Thorpe. They are staff attorneys in my office. We do this through the legal department. There are a lot of legal issues involved in hiring a superintendent and all employees. But as most of you know, since you're school system employees, there's only one person that the board hires without the recommendation of the superintendent, and that's the superintendent. And so that person doesn't go through the normal process, and the board doesn't have a support system in staff to hire the superintendent per se, so they generally use an outside person or a firm. So that's what we specialize in. We work all across the state. Every single school board in the state is a member of our organization. I have done to date, since I started the service 20 years ago, 155 searches. We've also worked with, exactly how many, 78 of the school boards in the state. So we really do cover the state. The advantage of having us do it is we know all the superintendents in all the school systems and all the assistant superintendents and the people who might be interested in applying. We also, I'm on the board of the executive committee of the National Affiliation of Superintendent Searchers, so we have contacts throughout the country. We can use those contacts to get good candidates for the board, to encourage them to apply. We can use that to get good information about candidates, so good references and get clear references and things like that. And we also have a process that we've developed after 150 times. I think we keep making it better. But this is the most important decision that the school board makes independently, the only personnel decision the school board makes independently in choosing a leader for your district. And then, of course, that person would recommend future other hires to the board. So I want to make it clear that we are not the decision makers. We do not screen candidates. We do not tell the board who to interview, or even recommend who to interview. We do not make the decision. We don't recommend who they should hire. That province by law is specifically the Board of Education's decision. And so our role is to, as I said, be administrative support, provide good candidates, provide a process. One of the parts of that process are these online surveys to collect information, and obviously we're here today to get information from these forums and to report that to the board and to compile it. So we are a support system for the board. Another of our roles is to keep the board legal in terms of public records, open meetings, personnel laws, and all that kind of stuff, since we are attorneys. I've been doing school law in the state for 30 years, so I've been around a while. So anyway, so that's kind of what we do. I think the board just wanted me to make clear, or us to make clear, that we are not the decision makers, and kind of explain our role and why they have retained us to help them and what they're asking us to do. So is that enough? Thank you.
Thank you, Allison. We appreciate your comments and look forward to working through this process. Now we are going to allow time for comments, and we have a couple that have signed up. And certainly we are going to encourage and expect that some of you will want to add to that. First of all, Andy Berry.
Chairman Pennell, members of the board, and fellow school-based administrators. Thank you for this opportunity to converse about the qualities needed in our next superintendent. I currently serve as the Caldwell County Principals and Assistant Principals Association as the president of that group, known as CC Papa. CC Papa would like to thank the board for your ongoing service. For students and staff of Caldwell County Schools, your efforts are appreciated. And I also want to note that I am very proud of this group of administrators that I'm proud to call colleagues. The current mission of CC Papa includes providing collegial support and professional development for school-based administrators, as well as advocating for schools at the local and state level. Additionally, we often are called by the superintendent to problem-solve current issues facing our school system. Recently, our organization met to discuss our system's needs in relation to the future superintendent. As a group, we identified qualities of superintendent leadership style that would serve well in current and future challenges. We also identified 2 key issues that must be effectively addressed in order for our system to experience success in the future. First, we would like to be clear that this list of qualities reflect anticipated challenges facing our system rather than any question of the skills or qualities of our current superintendent. In fact, CC Papa would like to acknowledge the years of skilled and dedicated service of our current superintendent, Dr. Stone. He has done an admirable job of building system capacity. He has modeled what it is to be an advocate and champion for children, and we want to be sure to acknowledge that. So to talk about some of the future superintendent qualities, the qualities of superintendent that identified by this group in some work sessions. And I do have these in a handout if that would be helpful for you to have.
Sure, that'd be great.
And I'll use this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being organized. Thank
It's just one page.
Yeah, I'll give it. I'll give it to Mike.
So some qualities needed in our future superintendent, and we'll go through that list. Of course, respect and support for school leaders, that needs to be evident. We want a superintendent in the future that will lead collaboration to unite all district departments. And I want us to remember that and go back to the idea of collaboration of all district departments, especially when we get to the point when we start talking about some key issues that we'll need to address. We also need a superintendent that will articulate a clear vision of just 1 or 2 priorities. We feel like if we have a focused vision that's clearly articulated, that's our best route for success. We need someone who will communicate clearly with all stakeholders. We need someone who understands the needs of each community and each school. We are a diverse community, a diverse group, and we need someone who understands the needs of each community and each school. We need someone who will seek the advice and guidance of teachers, and principals, staff, and all the school communities regarding the direction of this district. Keeping those qualities in mind, I'd like to address 2 key system issues that we see in the future that are going to be very important for our success, to negotiate them successfully. The first one is multi-tiered system of support, also known as MTSS. So we can talk a little bit about MTSS and what that is. MTSS involves finding a pathway to proficiency for all students. It's how we go about our business of educating our children. It is a comprehensive framework for student success that includes academics, attendance, and conduct. So these are the 3 legs of MTSS. It's our path to proficiency with academics, with attendance we track on and work with, and also student behavior and conduct. So how we go about making sure we have success for all students, doing what we need to do as a system. And it's a framework for making sure that we have the things in place to do what we need to do for students to have success. Districts across the state are currently developing their framework. Success will require communicating clear expectations, efficiently allocating resources, and planning and delivering quality instruction, assessing learning, evaluating, and improving instruction. CC Papa believes strong leadership from the superintendent is required. It's a prerequisite for success. The superintendent will need to have a vision of what our MTSS framework will be. It's a team effort, but we need leadership and a clear vision of how we're going to go about MTSS. One thing that strikes fear in all of us in relation to MTSS, if you look at the year 2020, we're going to change our model of how we identify students who are exceptional. So exceptional children are going to experience a different route towards being identified as exceptional children. We talk about the discrepancy model right now to identify students with specific learning disabilities. That is looking at their achievement level and their ability level, and if there's a discrepancy between their identified ability and how they're actually achieving, we assume that there is a learning disability. And that's how they, through testing and observation, that's how we determine if a child has special needs, specific learning disabled. That model will be gone in 2020. So how will we identify students that have special needs? We will identify it through our MTSS framework. We will need to prove that we are indeed providing adequate instruction, and for students that struggle, adequate intervention to catch them up to be on grade level. It is very important that we have a coherent plan, and there's an issue of scaling this up, okay? If we don't have a unified vision on how to do MTSS, we're all going to be going our own different ways, and we will run the risk of not serving students the way they need to. So it's going to be an allocation of resources. Will we have some common resources, some common ways to assess these students, some common ways to intervene so that we can train together and plan instruction together to make sure, because if we cannot document and prove that we're providing adequate instruction and adequate intervention, we don't have the evidence to show that these children with special needs are eligible. It's a daunting task, and I want to go back to a superintendent with a clear vision and the ability, then we go back to our qualities of the ability to collaborate and unite all of our departments within our district to work together. Because if you're talking about instruction and attendance and conduct, that's our work, and that requires all of us working together. So the collaborative piece is essential. I want to move to the next key system issue as we look forward, and that is student emotional and mental health. So the social and student emotional and mental health, it's key to student achievement. Exposure to trauma and significant life stressors distract students from learning and teachers from teaching. Our students have experienced unprecedented levels of maltreatment, mental illness, substance abuse, and other traumatic events. Schools are increasingly challenged to provide trauma-informed learning environments. Our leadership needs to make this a priority. Allocating resources and setting expectations in this area will be key. So those are two issues that I would like for us to reflect those back on the qualities of a superintendent and how important that having these qualities and how they weave in with effective MTSS framework and working with student emotional and mental health. Two huge challenges that I believe any of the colleagues here, because we in fact have stated those in our work sessions as key areas. I'd like to, of course, thank you for taking time to hear our input, the input of your principals and assistant principals. This is our work. We look forward to continue working for excellence in education for Caldwell County. The principals and assistant principals present today are happy to entertain questions. We're here from this board at this time. And so we do have one person signed up, but would also be happy to entertain any questions on this presentation or any other questions that you have for this group.
Mr. Chairman, I do have a quick question just to help me to understand. Mr. Berry, thank you so much for your presentation. And just to clarify in my mind, this is very clearly done, but where you say that in 2020 the change will be in the model of the ways you identify exceptional children, is that coming from the state or is that a national mandate?
Yes.
State?
Yes. So we're going to get away from the discrepancy model.
And it's
that's
moving to
across the
what?
state. I'm sorry,
From discrepancy model to,
to using the MTSS
Yes.
framework for identifying. So it's what we used to call response to instruction or response to intervention. So your MTSS framework is going to identify what your core instruction is. So the philosophy behind it is if you have good, sound core instruction, roughly 80% of your children at least are going to have success with that.
and every district could have their own framework?
Correct. But they're going to need to have, they're going to, so
Who thinks that?
we need guidance and leadership in this area. Absolutely, and so I would very much encourage, firstly, this is about our children. We don't want to identify children as EC who should not be identified. It's not a silver bullet. Being EC is not a good place for a student to be if you're not EC, okay? Being in the classroom with good solid instruction is where you should be. Also, we don't want students who should be identified as EC not benefiting from that, not getting identified. So we need a sound framework. So I would encourage our board, because this is something that we are struggling with as well, to dialogue with other boards, find out what other counties are doing, find out what strong leadership we're experiencing in other counties in terms of developing an MTSS framework. So it is our instructional plan. So the idea is a good core instruction is 60% of students are going to respond to that. 20% are going to have a hard time with that. So maybe with some research-based intervention, we know there are ways to bring up students who struggle. And with good, sound intervention, we can bring them up and bring them up to grade level. But you're also then going to end up with that 5% that don't respond to good, sound intervention. And they may very well be, or have demonstrated, that they have a learning disability or a learning difference that we haven't identified yet. And so we need to make sure that they get the resources they need. This is the model going forward. How we identify EC children will change very soon. We're currently into the discrepancy model. You give an IQ test, you give a bunch of achievement tests, you observe the child, you do some other psychological testing, and then if there is a discrepancy, they're specific learning disabled. Okay, and now there are some other special needs that if you are that, you are that. If you are blind, you are blind, and that's not going to change, and they're going to get their services. If you're hearing impaired, you're hearing impaired. They're going to get services through EC. But the largest group of students who receive help through EC are your specific learning disabled students. And we need to have a plan for them, but more importantly, we need to have a strong, solid core instruction so we get to students where they don't even need that intervention, or at least aren't identifying the children that shouldn't be identified like that.
So we've used this discrepancy model for like 40 years, 50 years, forever.
As long as I've been around.
And do we want the state to have one model that the whole state uses? Or do?
That scares me.
Okay, so we want it to be, we want every district to figure it out?
We're going to have some guidelines and parameters. And when you get into identifying students with EC, then you're starting to talk to attorneys too, aren't you? Right? And so we need to have a sound plan in place and framework in place that's defensible, but also serves children well. And if we serve children well, it'll be defensible. But it's a big task ahead of us that our district needs to, and is working on, and we have a district team addressing this and exploring this, to find a good, strong framework for it.
Do the number of children that are identified EC, does that factor at all into this new salary plan?
Not
No.
that I'm aware of. Not that I'm aware of.
No.
I have one other question, and you're really helping to educate us, so your remarks are much appreciated. In the old days, this kind of identification would also include the needs of academically gifted children. Is that also part of the framework? So that will.
Somebody want to speak to that?
Speak now.
Anybody?
I will.
Thank you.
It does, the MTSS framework is about all children doing well with extensions and interventions. And so if we do this model correctly, we meet the needs of all children. But the components of the MTSS framework have to be very clear to all of us, because if they aren't, then we're all confused about the components. We do have universal screeners at different levels, so that's a real plus. We have some pieces that are in place that are moving, like Ms. Berry said, in the right direction. But we don't yet have a full, how do we roll this out when we have to prove to the attorneys that there is justification for what we've done. I think in an informal way, it may roll into our pay scale, because if you have a school with a high number of EC students, it could impact your proficiency ratings. So if your proficiency was impacted and growth was not understood or taken into account in a more equitable way than it is currently, the 80-20 division that we have right now, then it could inadvertently impact you as a principal. So I think it does, but it doesn't.
I mean, honestly, when you're 100% EC, when your numbers are low, and these children have never been on grade level, but your pay scale is based on proficiency, you're never up on these upper levels as far as math. Well, they'll put you on math for a certain amount of time, but you never get to gain the bonuses or any of that, because the growth model is not a part of the principal pay scale now. It's all based on proficiency levels.
So is expected growth different for
It's-
a learning disabled child compared to an AIG
Because
child?
the expected
Okay.
growth is based on proficiency, levels
Okay.
3s, 4s, and 5s. It's not based on the growth model. Well, mine in EBOS was, that's the way it was explained to me when my EBOS, part of my growth, mine went backwards, but my clientele changes all the time. So there's regular ed, if you have a sufficient number of regular ed students that you can have proficient scores in EBOS, you're good. But if you're below those numbers and it's inadequate data, there's no data to pull from.
Let me interject something here for just a minute. For the benefit of the School Boards Association, if you speak, if you'll just mention your name. Over here, Dr. Kim Case spoke a moment ago, and then Teresa Hartley. So anyone else, if you'll just mention your name for their benefit, we appreciate it. Anything else, anybody?
One thing I would urge the board in terms of MTSS, when you hear MTSS, think all children. Like Dr. Case said, think all children. It's not just for EC, or it's not for a way to become EC. It is our framework of instruction for all children. And that's important that we have a plan for all children. Do want to make note that these comments also include some comments about student emotional and mental health. And we have a colleague, Bill Schreiber, who has done a lot of research in that field, and I think he could speak to that and provide you some information about student emotional and mental health, the board. Well, he's signed up for comments. So we
Well,
appreciate
Bill's
it.
next on our list. Anna, did you have?
One more comment about this.
Anna Crook, principal at Gamble Middle School.
Just as I'm listening to the conversation and what people are saying, one thing that I'd like to make the board very aware of is the challenges for this framework that we're gonna need, they need to address all our levels. We need a framework that will work for our elementary principals, that will work for our middle school principals, and that will work for our high school principals, because our kids' needs are different at different levels, and so we need something that considers all of that. And I know from being in an elementary school, the resources were much greater and much more easily accessible in elementary school to provide interventions and enrichment for our kids. When we get to middle school, it's harder, and I know it's even more challenging in high school. So I think that's something that we need to think about too. We need to be well versed on how we can serve our students at all 3 levels.
Thank you, Kim. Thank you, Teresa. Thank you, Anna. Next on the list, Bill Schreiber.
Chairman Pennell, members of the board, I appreciate the opportunity to also provide some input. As Mr. Berry said, he had asked me to provide some further information on social, emotional, and mental health. As some of you are aware, I'm pursuing this as a doctoral thesis, and I would like to give you a little bit of background to some of the things we talked at length over a couple of meetings with regard to our concerns about the social, emotional health, not only of our students, but also of our staff and teachers. A growing body of research is recognizing that many challenges we are encountering in our schools and in our community are related to adversity, and there's been a phrase coined by researchers called adverse childhood experiences, or ACEs is the terminology. And ACEs is a pretty broad spectrum of things that many of us have encountered, and they include physical, sexual, emotional abuse, mental illness in the house by a household member, drinking, or alcoholism, being exposed to that by a household member, illegal prescription drugs, divorce, separation, domestic violence toward a parent or a child, and incarceration of the household member are the original ACEs. And as the research continues, we're adding more to that list. But these chronic events occur not only in the lives of our students, but they also occur in the lives of our staff. And the research is also showing us that these are having effects that go well out into the adult years. And in some cases, depending upon the number of exposures, ACEs that are occurring, some adults are losing life expectancy upwards of 20 years from their life expectancy is cut off. So in addition to the struggles that we see in the school building, we're also having effects that affect us economically on the other end within our county and the state and nationally. In 2014, a national survey of children's health, 48% of the children surveyed had at least one ACE. 22.6% of students from 0 to 17 were found to have 2 or more ACEs. And an alarming statistic to me as the principal of a high school, middle school, is that the 12 to 17-year-olds, 30.5% had 2 or more ACEs. Students that had 2 or more ACEs were 2.67 times more likely to be retained at least once. Children that do not have ACEs or were able to develop resilience are 2.59 times more likely to be successful. So there's a huge correlation with these ACEs. We need to talk about and train our staff on how to handle and look at students when they come in, instead of that initially being like, you need to go to in-school suspension, you need to talk to the principal. You know, we are working on that now. We have some good things in work right now. But we are seeing issues when I come in and a student all of a sudden gets in trouble. Why did he get in trouble? Well, he got in trouble because last night dad was drunk and was mad at mom, and he came in the next morning and he starts to take it out on other folks. Being able to deal with that in a compassionate way, in a way that allows us to be trauma-informed in our learning environments, takes resources and time and training. And as you are all painfully well aware of, and I know that my colleagues are painfully well aware of, it seems that our resource support from the state, national level continues to shrink, and the expectations for what we can do continues to grow. The problem of ACEs is a community-wide problem. There are many resources that are out there right now, but still they are probably fairly limited and not enough really to support this. So my request on behalf of the association, and I'd love to have other comments, is that our next superintendent make this a priority to seek out ways to bring our community together and to use the resources that are available out there, but most importantly to seek alternative funding and resources to support each and every one of us. As you are aware, I'm the principal at the alternative school, and I spend at least half of my day working directly with students that are suffering and dealing with these type of issues. And we have limited support over there, and I don't even want to go over to this side because I have a small number of folks that have major problems. Some of the high schools, the middle schools, they have 500 or 600 students in there. And when you start looking at these numbers, 48% of the children, that's not just the kids that are in the alternative school, those are the kids that are in the regular school. And we are all getting gray hair and really struggling with this because I don't know one individual in this room that wouldn't give their left arm to help one of the students in their classroom. So we really are concerned and would like to make the priority our next superintendent allocating resources and setting expectations that we move forward with this in a collaborative way with community support and a vision that's going to take us to address this issue, which is going to continue to grow, I fear. And as I look at the research and as I just see the students that are coming into our building now. So I appreciate the opportunity, sir, to address you and to address the members of the board. Do you have any questions that I could help with, or perhaps some of my colleagues?
Thank you, Bill.
You're welcome.
We appreciate your being here. We appreciate all of you being here. And we have some time. We would like to have some other comments. We're looking for, and this has been very informative. I want you to know this is helpful to each of us. If you have any other comments in regards to qualities, characteristics that you might have in mind for our next superintendent, we'd be happy to have you come to the microphone and let us know. So,
Chairman Pennell, can I ask Ms.
Sure.
Crook a question? Ms. Crook, the plan for, that you were saying it needs to be able to implement in elementary, middle, and high school, are you saying 3 plans or 1 plan that, I mean, obviously you're gonna have to tweak it some, and I understand that, but you're saying the base of 1 plan with adjustments to the age of the student? Or are you saying 3 plans for each grade level?
I think I mean, this is my personal.
Well, and I mean, you know, and that's okay. I mean, that's
I
what,
think we need a universal plan, but there probably need to be within that universal plan nuances that address
Right.
elementary.
Okay, and that's what-
If elementary, then maybe this applies, and if you're in middle school, then you consider this, and, I mean, I don't know exactly, but something that will address the needs of all learners, just knowing that they're different.
well, yeah, I mean, I know it's an evolving thing, so that's the reason, are you trying and, you know, it's gotta happen by 2020, obviously, something has to, or somebody, and I heard a whisper out there that you can do nothing, so, you know, that's probably not the best means to do it, but, so, just trying to figure out if what you're saying is one universal, and then adapt it to the different grade
It
levels.
just needs to meet all our needs.
Thank you.
I think what I'm really trying to say is, when we started this process, back in the very beginning, it was called response to instruction or response to intervention, and it was geared toward elementary school. And then when we tried to roll that over to apply to everybody, it didn't fit.
Okay.
And so whatever we come up with needs to fit for all.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairman.
And I just want to let Mr. Berry and Mr. Schreiber know, we appreciate the comments that you provided about student emotional and mental health, and we have heard that from other groups throughout the day. So
Every
other
group.
people in the community are recognizing that too, and I think that's a really strong message that we're hearing from lots of different folks.
anyone else? Certainly, we encourage any of you to present anything. We still have 15 minutes. And that's why we're here. We want to hear what you have to say.
And it doesn't have to address these 2 topics, or, you know, the two previous ones. It can be about other things that you want to say. I mean, that's perfectly fine.
I've got one question.
Sure.
Do you think it would be important that the next superintendent would be a former teacher, former administrator? Feedback?
Absolutely. I think it needs to be someone who knows our communities, knows our business partners, knows our county well, knows the different dynamics in the different areas, so that when they come in here, they're not coming in blind and just guessing and starting from scratch. They have a basis, they know things, and they know the principals, the administrators, they're familiar with what's already going on, and they're right there with us with a vision and a plan, trying to help us implement things. And I don't have anyone in particular that don't think that, but I feel like it's really important that it with someone who knows what all is taking place within our county.
Another follow-up question to that. I think Dottie and I were on the board when Dr. Stone came. And Dr. McNeil put a freeze on as far as any changes administratively due to the fact that he wanted the next superintendent to be able to pick those administrators. Do you have any feedback in regard to that with Dr. Stone? Or if there are any administrative changes, are you open to the next superintendent who may come in and not know any of you guys? Or how do you feel about
I
that?
think it's important to, my name's Leanne Fry. I think it's most importantly, not so much about who does what, but we're all here to serve our faculty, our staff, our communities, and our students. So the biggest, I think, in my opinion, the most important thing is knowing that our schools are ready when our students and our staff walk in the door. So whatever the time frame might be, because we don't know. You often see the domino effect that we often hear from our students.
It wasn't a freeze on teachers, was it? It was
No.
just a freeze on administrators.
Right.
Okay, just administrators.
School-based or even district-based administrators.
Right.
Allowing those people enough time to get your staff and your schools ready for students and families. And
Yeah.
that's really, I think, what would be most important to all of us. Would you agree?
Well, and if our time frame works the way we'd like and hope that it works, this person could be a part of hiring in April and May, if they're selected by April or May. If we're announcing announcing who it is the end of April.
Well, they
you
may
know.
have a contract they have to fill at other schools.
Right,
Well,
which-
yeah, but
So we have to see how that would work. But you're correct, that is.
Yeah, but I think Dr. McNeil made that statement just so, because as principals, when we hire teachers, they're loyal to us. And I think that's why Dr. McNeil made that statement, so the next person would make those hires. And there is some loyalty involved in that.
anyone else? Now's your opportunity. We welcome any of your comments. This has been very valuable all day long, and we certainly do appreciate all of you being here. And, the things that you've said today, some of that we've heard, the mental health element, certainly we've heard several times today. Very important. We take this job very seriously, and we want to get the very best candidate that we can for Caldwell County. We want somebody who's going to make, or at least we hope that they make Caldwell County their home. We don't want it as a stepping stone to something else. So are we going to know that? Well, we're going to do the best job that we can to try to, find out that situation. We are going to take our job very seriously. You can count on that. Again, thank you very much. It's been a very long day for us. It's been an even longer day for you. And keep in mind that we do appreciate the job that you do every day in the classrooms, in the schools of Caldwell County. You are the leaders. You're the ones that make Caldwell County the great place to be. That's why I think we're going to get a lot of great candidates because Caldwell County has a reputation, and you are to be credited with that.
One other question too. One of the other themes that has run through all the meetings is technology. So, does anybody have anything you want to say about
More.
in the short amount of time we have? I mean, that's been the general theme
And
throughout
it was
the day.
not only, I'm sorry, you go ahead and
No,
speak.
go I'm Melissa Costin at Hospital School. My colleagues said it way better than I can when they spoke earlier tonight. The qualities where, especially when we talk about collaboration and uniting different departments, to be successful in all of these things, that's, to me, just huge because of what you're talking about. Things like technology. The MTSS framework touches every child. We write a plan for core instruction that's every child in my school gets this core foundational instruction. So every child in our district is touched in that way to succeed, hopefully, we'll work on it. And then technology touches every child. And so if we have a superintendent that collaborates well with us, with different departments, you know, between technology, between human services, between nursing, between school counselors, between, you know, all of these different wonderful departments and people, and is able to articulate a very clear vision where we all can respond, because we want to do our best job. I want to be a better principal today than I was yesterday. So if we have that leadership, you know, I think that everybody in this room who, you know, I look up to so much, and the way that they run their buildings and the things that they're doing, we'll all be able to respond to that and see the success in our children district-wide.
Thank you, Melissa. Anyone else? Still got 9-10 minutes?
You have
Anyone?
you have homework. We have a little over 1,100 folks who have completed the survey, the community survey. There are over 60,000 adults in Caldwell County, about 80,000 people. So please do all that you can to encourage your school community, your neighborhood, your folks at church, folks in the grocery store, to fill out that survey, because the 7 of us will make a better decision in moving forward if we hear from you and we hear clearly from you. And the survey, I'm sure you've all at least glanced at it. You know, there are 18 or 20 categories, characteristics of a superintendent. They're all important. And the only way that survey is going to give us any information is you think about all 18 of those at one time and decide which ones am I going to say are super duper Shazam important and which ones are not so really important. Because if you just start from the top, you got to really think about the whole thing. But the most important question, I think, is that open-ended question at the end where you can tell us what you think. And they assure us that we'll see every comment that's made on those questions. So we need to hear from you, and we need for you to help us get more folks in this community completing that survey.
May I add to that just a minute? The staff survey is different from the community survey. The staff survey was sent around again yesterday. So it would be helpful if you encourage your staff members to complete the staff survey, whether you forward that back out into their emails, encourage them for the same reasons. The board wants to hear what the staff has to say. And so, but it's a different survey. It's not the one that's a link on the web. It's the one that is sent to you individually, because we don't want people to, or our staff to take the community to take the staff.
And let me just say that there's 6 of us here. Dwayne Knight is not here. He is out of town. He regrets that he could not be here. He will be getting this information, though. So he was anxious that we take good notes and that we fill him in on the events of the day. So we will do that. Any other comments?
Just thank y'all. I mean, it's 7 o'clock at night. You know, some of you would be at things maybe at school, but most of you are home, so we appreciate your time.
Yeah.
I mean, it's, we know that it's important to you, it's important to us what we're trying to do, the task at hand, and, you know, we can't do the best job unless we get a lot of input. So that's where we wanted to go today and with these surveys. So thank you. That's all I can say.
And I just want to add also that there's not a person in this room that I don't think of every day and hope that you're able to follow through with all of the desires and the leadership that you're showing us when we come to schools, when we visit you. And you are appreciated from the bottom of their hearts, and parents really appreciate the role of administrators and how hard you're working every day. I wish there was more I could personally do for you, but I have listened, and we will try as hard as we can for every person in this room. And I admire the way you put your thoughts together, so thank you very much.
One other comment that you folks made about collaborating and all departments working together, that's a powerful goal, and we heard that comment earlier today. It was framed in a different way, but it was move away from stay in your own lane. And so you each group said it differently, but I think it's powerful that we learn to work together collaboratively. And thank you for your work and putting these thoughts together.
You are appreciated. You can be assured of that. Do I hear a motion that we adjourn?
I move we adjourn.
Second.
Second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? We are adjourned. I don't think anybody opposes.